In this video, we're going to check the vocabulary question. This is the third question type. What does the question look like? The question will ask you about either a specific word or a specific phrase. It will always link to a specific word or a specific phrase in the text, and it will always be highlighted. So you won't have to look or scan the text in order to find the word. Now, what to do? Basically, the first thing you have to do is read the question. Remember, you have to read the question to know which question type it is. After you read the question and you notice that it's a vocabulary question, basically the kind of the most convenient thing to do is know the word. So if you do know the meaning of the word or the phrase that is highlighted or the question is referring to, basically you just have to choose the meaning. I know this sounds like a bummer, but it is. Most of the vocabulary questions in the TOEFL can be solved without the use of the text. So the more vocabulary you have, the better you will do in the vocabulary question. Now, that doesn't mean that if you don't know the word, you won't be able to answer. Yes, you can answer even if you don't know the meaning. So we have two paths, right? So you do know the meaning, you choose it. And if you don't know the meaning, you go to step number 3, which is you go to the text. And now we're going to have to try to take the meaning of the word from the context. So how do we get the meaning of the word from the context? We're going to work on the way to this video in order to get that. To practice this, you want to squeeze your brain. I know this sounds like a very theoretical thing to do, but basically what you want to do is you want to try to get the meaning of that word from the meaning of the other words or the meaning of any kind of transition that is happening between sentences. You definitely don't want to take too much time doing this, so you're going to take around 30 seconds for this, and basically after that time you're going to have to let it go and just mark whatever, because remember, better to be wrong than to have nothing. So it's better to mark the wrong choice than to mark no choice at all. And basically the last thing you're going to do is you're going to eliminate the wrong choices the way we do in every single question type. Okay, what are things you don't want to do? You don't want to give up. So let's say you don't know the meaning of the word. You don't say, oh, I give up, this is such a difficult word, I don't even want to look at it, I'm going to go straight to guess. Don't go straight to guess, okay? Just try to get it from the context. And even if, okay, now, if after trying it you still don't get it, then guess, then mark something, but don't just go straight to guessing. Do not dismiss your native language. Sometimes when you study English, especially if your native language is a Romance language like Spanish or French or Italian, they will tell you to be very careful about not confusing words that sound the same, but they're not the same. These are called the false friends, the false amis. So you don't want to believe that a word, just because it sounds like a word in your native language, it is or it has the same meaning. So we tend to dismiss it, right? We tend to dismiss our native language or even make fun of people who use the native language and then create just an English kind of accent in order to create, quote unquote, create a word in English. Do not dismiss it now. Actually, in most of the cases, if a word sounds like a word that exists in your native language, there is a relationship there. Maybe they come from the same origin, maybe they have the same meaning, maybe they just have a related meaning, but do not dismiss it. You want to use your native language. Do not be unspecific. So let's say you kind of know or have heard this word before in a context. So you want to, okay, it sounds like funny, so I'm going to mark funny. No, don't be that unspecific. If you're not completely sure of the meaning, go to the text and try to get the meaning from the text. And basically, you don't want to spend too much time doing this. Again, there's a moment, let's say this is the timing, right? You have like from 0 to 1 minute. So your brain is going to be working is going to reach a peak and then it's going to drop. Okay, there's a point at which your brain stops trying. Okay, you're just going in circles, you're just repeating words, you're just rereading, you're not really creating new information. So you definitely don't want to go to that point. At the moment you notice you stop really creating new reasonings, you stop and just go to the alternatives and just mark one alternative. Okay, we're going to practice. I'm going to give you 1 minute, one full minute to solve this. Remember, read the question first and then go to the text. Again, remember, if you already know the meaning of the word, you don't have to go to the text anymore. Okay, give you 1 full minute. Go. Okay, time's up. I hope you have an answer. We're still gonna check. Don't worry. Okay, let's check the strategy. So remember, the first thing we want to do is see if we know the meaning. So let me check the word cosmopolitan. So first, do we know the meaning of the word? If we do know the meaning of the word, you just go to the alternatives and find the one that has the exact same meaning or a corresponding meaning. If you don't know the meaning of the word, try to know if you know at least part of the word. Maybe you don't know the meaning of the word cosmopolitan, but maybe you know the meaning of the word cosmo, or maybe you have heard this word before or somewhere, or you have used the word before even without knowing what the meaning of the word is. But if you know just part of the meaning of the word, try to get it from there. Cosmos, you kind of maybe heard this word. And actually also remember, if this word exists in a variation in your own native language, also use that. Maybe there's a variation with a different accent in your language, so it probably is, right? If it exists, it probably is the same. Okay, if you have done it, if you have separated the word and you still don't know what it is, we're gonna go to the text. So we're gonna go to the text. And how do we know how to get the meaning? First, of course, we go to the word, to the cosmopolitan word, and then we have to try to use the rest of the text, like the context, like the previous sentence, the following sentence, in order to get it. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to find keywords, okay? Now, keywords are the ones that are going to show us what is the relationship between this word and other parts of the text that we do understand, or other words that we do know the meaning of. So, for example, here in yellow, I have a good example. A good example is taken as an example of whatever I said before. Now, why is this so important? And this is kind of the best keyword that we could find. They're about to give us an example of the word we just used. So they say the word cosmopolitan. There are some cosmopolitan species, and they say a good example. Okay, good. Now they're about to give me an example of what cosmopolitan means. And they say a good example is the housefly found almost everywhere on Earth. Okay, now I know that being found almost everywhere on Earth is an example of being cosmopolitan. We're still not going to go to the alternatives. We're going to try to predict. We're going to try to predict from that. Okay, now I'm going to say that cosmopolitan is being almost everywhere on Earth. Okay, now can you think of a word that has that meaning? Maybe not necessarily a word, maybe a concept. Okay, if you can't, good. And if you can't, that's okay, because you can always just use the definition everywhere on Earth, or found everywhere on Earth. Okay, what is another keyword that we can use? We can use indeed over here, right? Okay, indeed, cosmopolitan species. There are cosmopolitan species, which means now cosmopolitan is going to make reference to something I said before. And then we go to see what is the indeed referring to. And the indeed is referring to that all species might spread to every place on Earth. And now I have a reinforcement to the concept of every place on Earth, everywhere on Earth, everywhere in the world. And now using that, we're going to go back to the alternatives and we're going to eliminate, and we're going to find the best. So we're going to eliminate. Remember, if we want something that you can find everywhere or almost everywhere in the world, so we're not going to refer to Asian, which refers to the age. We're not going to refer to useful. And then we have worldwide and well-known. Right now, which one is it then? Is it worldwide or is it well-known? So which one is closer in meaning to the fact that you can be found everywhere on Earth? Again, you may not even know the meaning of these words, okay, but you can get it from knowing what they are referring to. So well-known refers that is basically literally well known, so it's known by a lot of people. And worldwide means that it can be found in through all the world, right? Now, of course, the one that is closer in meaning to the fact that it can be found everywhere on Earth or everywhere in the world is the first one, worldwide. And that way we're going to solve it. Again, we solve it in two ways, right? The first, trying to know the meaning of the word, okay? And if we don't know the meaning of the word, we can still get it from the context, okay? And remember, in the context, we're going to check for keywords and we're going to try to predict. Okay, and that's it. That's all the strategy you need for the vocabulary question in the TOEFL. You do have to do a lot of practice. My advice, like how to improve your vocabulary, I have a lot of advice for this. So my advice is that if you do have the time, you want to start reading a book. Just read a short or long book that you're interested in, okay? And you're going to start learning words from the book. Let's say this is your book. Okay, maybe it's not a paper physical book, maybe it's a Kindle book. And then what you want to do is you're going to mark, or you're going to circle, or you're going to write down all the words that you don't know. Let's say this is a page and I don't know this or this or this or this. And let's say at the end of one day, you have 15 words that you don't know. What you don't want to do, you don't want to look those 15 words up. You don't. You won't remember. Your brain is going to get tired. You're going to get bored. It's useless. What you want to do is you want to choose 2 or 3 words of those 15 that you don't know. Maybe there are 20, and they're just going to focus on those. You're just going to learn 2 to 3 words per day. More than that will be useless. Okay, you won't remember them. Again, you will get tired. It will be kind of waste of time. So your goal, if you do have the time, is 2 to 3 words per day. You can also do this watching a TV show you like. Again, I recommend TV shows because they have very colloquial language. If you have a movie, they will have more curated dialogues, and because they want to be more time efficient. But in a TV show, they pretty much more relaxed, and there's a continuation, so you get used to a certain way in which the characters are speaking, and then you know that there are certain words that they will use over and over because they're like their typical way of talking. So you will get more familiar with a specific vocabulary. Now, I don't recommend you to read a highbrow book. I don't recommend you to read like a philosophy book or an economy book in order to get vocabulary, because most of the words that you get in the TOEFL are everyday words. So you don't need to increase your vocabulary in a very specific way, like with very obscure words or very, highbrow words. Now, if you don't have the time, you can still practice and increase your vocabulary. Now, you're not going to have time to read a book, although I think you can squeeze a page of 2 per day. But let's say you have no time. Let's say you're working and you have kids and you're studying and you are working out and you don't have the time. You really don't have the time. You barely have time to study for TOEFL. Okay, then you're going to do the same strategy, but you're going to use the text from homework. So instead of copying the words from the book you're reading, you're going to do this from homework. So you're still going to have to practice with text for other sections in the TOEFL, right? So you're going to do that, and you're going to learn those words from the practice test or from the practice reading passages. Instead of writing 2 to 3 words per day, you maybe just want to settle for 1 to 2 words per day. Again, this is in case you don't have the time, in case you're just really squeezing the time to learn some or to practice some for TOEFL. Another important thing that you can do, and you can do this if you have the time to, you're going to have to try your inner monologue in English. This is a resource that is often underused when you're learning a second language, which is usually we have downtime, we have down brain time, right? In which we're daydreaming or we're considering things we're going to do during the day. And we usually have this inner monologue in our native language because that's the default. But now I want you to start trying to have it in English. So whatever considerations are going through your head, try to see, okay, how would I say this in English? So how would I consider this in English? Even how would I fantasize in these 5 minutes that I have in order to I'm waiting for my order at the restaurant or the cafeteria. So how do I process this in English? Trust me, this is going to help you improve your vocabulary. Of course, you're going to have to dig and you're going to have to look words up. In this case, it's kind of a free card because it's not like you're memorizing the words. You can just look them up in the translator or in the dictionary and just use it for the moment. You don't have to learn them. But the fact that you're using them is going to make them stick harder. And then, of course, you're gonna pretend you must use English all day. Maybe you're in a different language speaking country, and at work you don't use any English, and you don't talk to any friends in English. So you pretty much don't feel the urge, you don't feel the need to use English. Now you're gonna pretend you do. Okay, let's pretend your life depends on it. Again, this is a little bit of an effort, but I still advise you to try it. Now, regardless of whether you have time to practice or not, I want you to learn how to analyze a word, okay? This is very important. Again, maybe sometimes you don't know the word, but you know parts of this word. I'm gonna teach you a little bit of that in this video, but you wanna practice that. You wanna practice not giving up just as soon as you see a word that you don't know. You wanna say, okay, how can I dissect this word in order to get a meaning from it? And I want you to practice analyzing words every day. Even words you do know, even words you know the meaning from, I want you to practice analyzing them. Okay, we're going to see what I mean by analyzing them. And another important thing is that when you learn these words, you want to learn by synonyms. You don't want to learn by definitions, okay? So what you want to do when you learn these 1 to 2 words per day or these 2 to 3 words per day, you don't want to have the word and then a long definition of the word. You want to have the word and then 2 synonyms of the word. That's what you want to do, because your brain will associate words with words, and basically what you need for the TOEFL exam is just knowing words. A good tool online that I recommend that you use is the worddictionary.com. I'm going to share it with you in a moment. I also recommend that you use a thesaurus dictionary, which is the dictionary of synonyms and antonyms. I don't recommend for TOEFL to get the antonyms. You don't really need them, okay? I'm going to share, this is the dictionary.com web, okay? So you could just write a word, but I advise you to go to the thesaurus. So let's say we're going to use a word we saw before, the word cosmopolitan that we saw in the text. My internet is a bit slow. Okay, give a second. We're going to use the word cosmopolitan. Let's give it a second. And we're going to go and look for synonyms. Okay, again, we don't want to work with full definitions. We just want to work with synonyms. Okay, so we go to the thesaurus and we type the word cosmopolitan, and we have a lot of synonyms: culture, metropolitan, sophisticated, worldly, Catholic. Oh yeah, because one of the meanings of Catholic is also universal or worldwide. So be very careful about that. So again, the more words you know, the better. Okay, we are going to, I wasn't showing you this. Okay, so we have cosmopolitan, we have culture, metropolitan, sophisticated, urban, worldly, Catholic, universal, etc. So the more words you know, the better. And remember, you can or you must, or it's better if you just learn the words by other words. Okay, that way you can associate one word with another and you won't have time solving this question type. Okay, now we're going to learn how to analyze a word, because I've been talking about how, that you have to analyze words, and I tell you to practice analyzing words every day. But now, how do we do it? You may remember from school that a typical word consists of 3 parts. Consists of a prefix, a root, and a suffix. You may remember this, you may not remember this. If you do, then perfect. Now, the prefix is the part that goes before. That's why we have prefix, and they have the root of the word. That is kind of the main meaning of the word, is the actual meaning of the word. And then we have the suffix, which indicates what type of word it is. Again, you can find more of this online. Basically, here I'm just giving you the crash course of how to analyze a word. So there are words that only have roots, that they don't have prefixes and they don't have suffixes. So they have script or scribe, for example. These are words that don't have a prefix and don't have a suffix. Then we have words that can have a prefix and a root. For example, the word prescribe. We have pre as a prefix and we have scribe, which is the root. Okay, and then we kind of combine the word scribe, which means to write, to prescribe, which is, again, in in theory, like the correct meaning of this word will be to write before, right? To pre and to prescribe. Then we have words that contain prefix, a suffix, and a root. And we have the word prescription. Again, we have the pre as a prefix, and we have script as a root, and then we have shun as a suffix. In this case, the suffix will only be there to indicate what type of word it is, like whether it's a noun, an adjective, a verb, an adverb, etc. Right? And in this case, the TION will indicate that this word is a noun. And this is very important because in English, most of the suffixes are there just to indicate what type of word they are. And we do need that. Okay, we do need that because if I'm looking at a noun, of course, I'm going to replace it with another noun. I'm not going to replace a noun with an adjective or a verb with an adverb, etc. Okay, and finally, we have words that are only made by the root and a suffix. For example, the word scripted, and then we have the ed, which again indicates that I'm talking about an adjective. Okay, we're gonna do some practice. Okay, I want you to look at this word, interminable. Okay, and I want you to, oh, you're kind of seeing the prefix, right? And I want you to separate it and find what is the prefix, the root, and the suffix. I'm just going to give you 10 seconds to do this. Okay, go. Okay, time's up. So what you should have the prefix in, which is not, termin, which is to stop, and able, which is the adjective suffix, which is indicating that this word is an adjective. And the meaning of this word will be not able to stop. Okay, again, I want you to notice that this is just the way we're going to work when we don't know the word. Let's say I don't know this word, but I kind of see parts of the word that are familiar to me, that I may have seen in another word, or may have heard, or maybe they exist in my own native language, so I can get it from there, okay? Again, why is it important that we use, we're going to do this one. What is it important that we use our native languages, especially if you come from a Romance language background, because most of these words will come from Latin, and Romance languages come from Latin, and actually a lot of languages have a lot of influence of Latin. So you will have at least a similar word in your own native language. Okay, I'm going to give you 10 seconds to do this word. Okay, so now you just have omni, which means all. You have science. You can have heard it from science, scientist, and then you have the ent, which is a noun. So this is a know-it-all. Again, if you're Catholic or Christian, you may have a lot of use, or you may have use of this word a lot, because God is omniscient. If you're not, maybe you just heard it and you never knew what it meant. But remember, you can always get it from the small pieces, small sections of the words. Okay, so there's no excuse for not knowing a word. Again, the TOEFL doesn't really deal with highbrow, very obscure words. So there will be always a way to get the meaning of this word. But it's also important that you increase your vocabulary. Okay, important things to remember. The more words you know, the better. I know this sounds obvious, but trust me, this is basically the key of it all. Like, the more words you know, you don't even need the context. Remember to use your native language, especially if you come from a Romance language, because that means you come from Latin and you're going to have a lot of roots from Latin. Of course, also a lot of prefixes. Remember not to leave a question and answer. So you always gonna give an answer, always, okay? If you have to guess, just guess. Go ahead and guess. It's better to be wrong than to be blank. And remember to analyze the words. Don't get stuck on don't give up. If you just don't know the meaning of one specific word, you can get it from the parts. And remember to not spend too much time in a word, because otherwise you will be wasting time. Actually, this vocabulary question should be solved in 30 seconds or 30 to 40 seconds. You shouldn't really spend one full minute, because if you notice, you're just getting the meaning of one word. You're not over-analyzing stuff. You're not inferring stuff. You're just getting the meaning of the word. Okay, now you're going to practice on more. Okay, and in order to practice on more, you're going to go to the THOMSON book to exercise 2.1 and 2.2. I'm going to show you what that looks like. Now, exercise 2.1 a text, like a reading text, and then you have just the words. Now, what you're going to do, okay, you are not just going to check the text. What you're going to do, you're first are going to try to get the meaning of the words from the words themselves, like without checking the text. Okay, so first just get the meaning. Okay, don't check the text yet. So just put like your guess, like two words that you know that they may be there. Okay, and if you don't have any words, like you cannot think of a synonym, try a concept or try a definition, but just put your own meanings. Okay, the second thing you're gonna do after you do that, you're gonna go to the text. Okay, and you're gonna find the words in the text, and you're gonna see whether they match your predictions or not. Okay, and after you have done that for all of these, then you're going to go to the dictionary, well, to the thesaurus, right? And then you're going to check whether they are right or wrong. That's what you're going to do. And you're going to do this for all these exercises. Remember, you first want to predict, you then go to the text, and then at the end, you just check in the dictionary. You don't want to check in the dictionary first, okay? You want to practice squeezing your brain to get the meaning. And then you go and check the dictionary. The dictionary should be there just to make you see whether you're right or wrong. Okay, and exercise 2.2, it is a multiple choice, so pretty much you can do just solve and try to match an answer here. And still, my advice for you is try to get it without the context first. Okay, like just try to see from here to here, and then go to the context, and then try to get the meaning from the context. In this case, do not go to the dictionary. That will be a waste of time. Just check the answers, because the answers are also shared with you in the file. Okay, I hope this was helpful. I leave you my website. We're going to follow with the next question type, with the inference question type in the following video. Remember to subscribe, to like, to share with somebody who needs this, and practice. Remember, TOEFL is a lot of practice. This was just the theory, but you definitely need a lot of practice. The theory is nothing without the practice. Okay, so see you in next video. Bye.